China has historically been one of the largest holders of United States Treasury debt, but that trend has been changing recently, and China just dipped below $1 trillion worth of United States Treasury debt for the first time in over 12 years. As this global trend towards de-dollarization continues, China is now taking the lead with dumping U.S. Treasuries. Ready? Let's dive in. Real quick, a word from today's sponsor, Swan Bitcoin. I use Swan Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin every single day. I dollar cost average, I stack sats. That means that as the price of Bitcoin is volatile and moving downwards, I'm getting my total overall position at a lower cost. I'm averaging down into it. The reason I use Swan Bitcoin is because we're looking around today, we're watching crypto exchanges lay people off. They're falling over like flies because they've all been not conservative. They've taken out leverage, but not so with Swan Bitcoin. They're extremely conservative, so I know that it's safe to use them. Because they only focus on Bitcoin, they're very efficient, very cheap, and the best part is they're extremely safe because your Bitcoin doesn't stay with them. You auto withdraw to a wallet of your choice whenever you want, and that's why I use Swan Bitcoin. And if you use my link in the description below, you will get $15 worth of Bitcoin just for signing up. Over the last few years, we've seen a trend that has accelerated over the last few months of global de-dollarization, and pretty much every time something happens, little tiny step that direction, I will let you know. I'll make a video about it. I'll say, hey, this is another step in the direction towards de-dollarization. Now, China has taken a step like that, and their portfolio of government debt made up of U.S. Treasuries has fallen to $980 billion. And that's the first time since 2010 where it's been below the $1 trillion mark. Now, at that point, its stock of Treasuries was at $843 billion, so it was a little bit lower back then, but it has been on the decline for a couple months, so we could soon surpass even that number. Take a look with me here at the tick data from treasury.gov. We can see we have China is the second entry here. We can see recently, just over the last couple of months, 1054, 1039, 1003, 980. So the pace at which they have sold US Treasuries has been accelerating lately. Now, one thing you might also notice is the top line here, Japan. Japan is also cutting its holdings of US Treasuries, and Japan is the largest. China is the second largest. Japan is the largest holder of US Treasuries, and I've documented what they've been going through the last couple of months with their yen falling. They've been printing more yen in order to purchase their own Japanese government debt, their 10-year government bonds. So they've been printing yen in order to buy those bonds. That's been devaluing their currency so that they can try and keep the rates pegged there. That means they haven't had the capacity to buy US Treasury debt like they have in the past, because if they were going to do that, that would devalue their yen even further, because dollars are a lot more expensive compared to the yen as compared to what they used to be. And so recently, Japan has started to pare back its holdings of US Treasuries. This was in May. They reached multi-year lows. Japan's holdings fell to 1.2 trillion. That's the lowest since January of 2020. Again, if we look at the tick data here, we can see that for a while, since October of 2021, Japan has held over 1.3 trillion, been on the decline recently, and it's now at 1.212 trillion. But going back to China, the pace at which they've been selling, they've dumped about $100 billion worth of US Treasury debt recently, and it looks like the reasoning for that has been they've been trying to diversify their foreign debt portfolio. Now, if we just rewind the clock a few months, there was another country that decided to take some military action that the United States did not like, and they lost a significant portion of their wealth that was held in assets like this that can be frozen, subject to sanctions. Now, we look at a country like China, and we see that they also potentially have some similar military aspirations with a different area of land that is near them, similar to what we saw happen a few months ago. And I'm not naming names for the purpose of no throttling of this video here so that it doesn't show up in the algorithm there. But we have noticed recently a trend to seeing other countries say, hey, that country wanted to do something and they lost some of their wealth because of it. Other countries are saying, hey, if I don't want to lose some of my wealth by taking actions that I want to take, I need to diversify my holdings a little bit. And specifically in the case of China, this might be a little bit of what we're seeing here. They want to detach a little bit, shed some of those treasuries, diversify their wealth, their holdings into some other assets. And at the pace that they're selling treasuries, they're not going to do this. Let me be clear. They're not going to do this. But at the pace that they were selling them right now, if they wanted to, it wouldn't be that long before they were able to get rid 100% of treasuries. If we take a look at this tick data back in November, they were at 1.08 trillion. Right now, they're at 980 billion. That means that they've dumped $100 billion in the last 6 months. So if you take that same pace even, which is not that fast, they've got less than $1 trillion left. If you're getting rid of 100 billion every single 6 months, you're getting rid of 200 billion every single year. That only takes you 5 years to get from $1 trillion to zero. So not that long. If they wanted to, they could slowly get rid of their entire treasury stockpile. Again, I don't think they're going to do that, at least right now, but it's in the cards. You know, it's in the back of their minds, especially considering what they might want to do in that region and not have their wealth subject or vulnerable to confiscation. And from a personal standpoint, making sure that your wealth is not subject to confiscation is a good idea all around. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.